All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining the COVID-19 series, Technology Solutions Addressing COVID-19. I think everybody has been incredibly excited to see the amount of participation that's going in. We had over 100 startups, actually 140 tried to be in this, and we have over 1,700 people registered. The companies that we are going to be having today are incredible, and I'm really excited to have them. But with that, we want to start this by having a word from our CEO, Saeed Amidi.
Good morning from California. It is a great pleasure to welcome you to Plug and Play platform. When I started Plug and Play in 2006 in different activities, including health, I never felt that we would be here in 2020 dealing with the biggest challenge of our life. It is to give you a little background of Plug and Play, we work with J&J, Novartis, Roche, Sanofi, and great startups from US and around the world, solving the biggest challenges that we come up to. Specifically with Roche, we have a diagnostic platform in Munich where we see how the startups can come up with new innovations to do home testing. And then with the power of Roche, we would like to scale that around the world. This is not easy times, but I had an incredible call with China on Monday, and our offices in China, in Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou are back to almost 80%. And the government even allows gatherings of less than 200 people. Then I had a call with Japan, our Tokyo office, Kyoto office, and soon to be open Osaka office. I never have felt such a vibrant, energetic group of people. Perhaps the Japanese have a much longer view in what the challenges are and how we can deal with them. Please join our health division to explore how as a community we can help to overcome this challenge. I'm confident we will, and I'm confident on the other side we will be a stronger community, caring about the world, caring about environment, and caring about the people. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Saeed. With that, I do really want to turn it over to our COO, Candace, who's going to provide an overview of Plug and Play and what we are doing.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Zach and Saeed, for the introduction. It's really great to be with you here today. We're very excited about our deal flow session. My name is Candace Widows. I'm going to walk through a little background about Plug and Play and also make an announcement. We are launching our new COVID-19 accelerator today. So for those of you who don't know Plug and Play, we're an early stage investor and innovation platform. And what that means is that we bring together startups, corporations, investors, universities, and governments, all with the aim of helping new technology get to market faster. And that platform is comprised of three buckets. On one end, we have the accelerator program. So we run dozens of programs each year. It's typically 3 months of sourcing, 3 months for the application call, and then 3 months of the structured program aimed at connecting startups with either corporations for business development, with investors for funding, or other mentors in the ecosystem, with the aim of having something that we can present at the end of an event we call Expo. And this could be a pilot, a proof of concept, a funding, something, but we want to measure success with these startups as a result of this 3-month program and really hold everyone accountable who is participating. Maybe it's a corporate business unit to actually execute a pilot with that startup during the 3-month period so that they have something to show at the end of the 3 months. The second bucket would be venture capital. Now, Plug and Play has been investing for over 20 years, but we've really stepped up the activity over the past few years. So today we do on average around 200 investments per year. And that average ticket size is anywhere from $100,000 to $100,000 US per investment. And we do this across all of our different industrial accelerator programs. And then finally, corporate innovation. We've really found our sweet spot in focusing on enterprise-facing startups that can really move the needle for corporations. And we also like to focus on helping corporations learn how to work with startups. It's, a startup is not a typical vendor. And so we do a lot of corporate innovation best practices sessions, a lot of knowledge sharing that happens between the corporations to learn, how can they adopt new technology? How can they bring real digital transformation to their companies? Now we have a huge startup ecosystem of over 20,000 startups. Startups can be like shooting stars, and so we're constantly adding 1,000 to 2,000 startups to our database every month. We have 36 global locations, and we cover 17 different industries and topics among all of these locations. We have over 500 employees worldwide. About 100 of them are actively sourcing, screening, and investing in startups. In terms of our portfolio, we have over 900 companies in our portfolio. And in terms of success metrics, about 1% have exceeded $1 billion in valuation, about 10% have exceeded $100 million in valuation, and about 70% go on to raise another round of funding. We believe that the platform that we've created, where we're constantly getting the input from other corporations, from venture capitalists, from governments, from universities, that we're making more informed decisions. And so we believe that really helps us improve our track record in terms of investing. In terms of locations, like I said, we're in 36 locations. Of those, 8 are ones in which we cover healthcare. And so for this program today, we actually sourced from 13 locations worldwide. So we're very international in our presence. I'd say about 60% of our investments are US-based, about 40% are international. And these are the topics that we cover, ranging from brand and retail to health, to food, to sustainability, and now this new COVID-19. What I love is that this platform, we can really put it towards any topic, any problem, and quickly bring in a number of solutions, screen them, whittle them down to a top list of, say, 20 startups that entered the 3-month program. And then they actively work with our corporate and investment partners, government and universities as well, to get new technology to market. And just to give you a sense for the network, we have over 400 companies, corporations in our innovation network. And so when we divide by industry, we love connecting all of the companies within the value chain of an industry, because we believe that it can really go a long way to mitigating the risk for a corporation to work with a startup if they can go back internally. Maybe a corporate representative can go back to their home office and say, hey guys, I think we should take a risk. We should transition ourselves into this new technology. It might be able to bring a new revenue stream. It's a lot easier to sell that internally if you can say that, hey, this is what other people in our industry are doing. And we really provide that platform to give visibility in terms of what is happening in that industry by connecting all of these corporations and other players in the market. Now, in terms of our health network, it is comprised of about 34 partners today, mainly hospital systems, pharmaceutical companies, medical device companies, and other government and industrial organizations. Now, I'm very proud to announce our COVID-19 accelerator. We're going to be taking all of the resources from our various vertical programs and really attacking this crisis that we found ourselves in. Today, I see this going in 5 tracks. One, of course, would be health. Another would be supply chain, retail, enterprise technology, and fintech. I think we're very open to exploring how this COVID-19 crisis is affecting other industries and what other specialized technology we can find and connect with any industry to help them navigate this crisis better. And just to give you a sense for the topics that we're covering in each of these programs, this is what we're looking at with our health track. And today you'll see a number of startups that are representing these various topics. In addition to today's event, next Thursday, I'm very excited to announce that we'll have a fireside chat with our partner from Roche, Dr. Johan Hurlbaus, who will be talking about what Roche is doing to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. And also we'll have a handful of startups presenting that are actively working with Roche on this problem. But just to give you a sense, vaccine development, telemedicine, mental health, preventative solutions, etc. This is a constantly changing list of topics that we're covering, but just to give you a sense. Now, in terms of our enterprise technology track, every company is being impacted this, absolutely every company. And so we want to cover items like collaboration and knowledge sharing, video conferencing, virtual project management, messaging and communication, etc. And next week as well, we will have a webinar with Ravin Jasuthasan from Willis Towers Watson, who will be going through best practices in running your organization in the midst of this crisis. In terms of supply chain, really interesting topics, including additive manufacturing. Can we produce the supplies that are desperately needed when supply chains are disrupted? Computer vision technology to manage social distancing. Are we making sure that people are staying the right distance apart from each other? And I'm proud to say that we'll be having a number of webinars for these topics. So next, in a couple weeks, on April 7th, we'll be covering fulfillment and last mile delivery. And then on April 14th, we'll be covering consumer signals in a webinar. And additionally, in terms of retail, we'll be looking at live stream shopping, customer service, virtual reality shopping. For fintech, we'll be looking at the digital banking experience. How can we get the elderly population moved to digital products and able to manage their money virtually? Cybersecurity, of course, customer service tools, and also lending to small and medium businesses. How can we ease the flow of money desperately needed by small and medium businesses between the banks using technology? So, of course, this will follow the normal program structure where we're taking indications of interest. So if you're a corporation, you're a venture capitalist, you are somehow in the ecosystem, you're interested in joining us, please reach out. You can reach out directly to me or to anyone at Plug and Play. We'll be doing a partner survey, defining the program focus areas that are unique to our partners' ability to engage the startups, and then finally running a 3-month program that'll culminate in August. But our goal would be to do a call for applications in April, deliver a top 100 list to our partners, have a selection day virtually, of course, run 3 months, and hopefully these startups can execute pilots or proof of concepts with our partners. And then in August, we'll have an expo to showcase what was accomplished during this period. For all COVID-19 related content and virtual events, so we have a number of webinars, fireside chats, startup pitch events. We have a new ebook with startup blurbs and information that you can go to our website at plugandplaytechcenter.com/COVID-19. So with that, thank you so much. Please enjoy the startup pitches today. And if you're interested in any of the programs I talked about today, please feel free to reach out directly to me at candace@pmptc.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Candace. One thing that I wanted to do, and by the way, my name is Zachary Pohl, I'm the Corporate Partnerships Manager for Plug and Play Health, is I wanted to specifically talk about our relationship with BARDA. If we can go to the next slide, I think we have that ready. Thank you. So we have over 400 partners, 34 just in plug and play health. And one of them is BARDA and their initiative Drive, a division of the US Department of Health and Human Services. And actually, when Donna, who's going to be speaking after me, came to our office in September, they were already thinking about disease mitigation. They said, if there's going to be a disease outbreak in the US, we're going to need all of our accelerators that we work with and plug and play's help in order to mitigate its spread. And unfortunately, we are here now with COVID-19. So we're spending, and we have been spending, a lot of time sourcing from across all of our 36 locations in those 15 different industries, finding a vast array of technologies, very innovative technologies that we can be using to mitigate it. And if we go to the next slide, I think this is really powerful. We saw startups applying from 13 of these locations. Keep in mind, every single one of these locations is running accelerator programs and has analysts and associates with them. And you can see here just how international this problem is, but how international and diverse we are seeing in terms of solutions. And speaking of diversity, if we go to the next slide, I really like this slide because finding the best way to mitigate COVID-19 is not going just to come from the healthcare sector, right? Technologies that are specifically addressing the quality of patient care, they're going to be happening in a range of different industries. And out of the 15 ones that Plug and Play has, 9 of them we found solutions for COVID-19. And you can see them highlighted here. New materials, brand and retail, health, obviously, IoT, fintech, supply chain, so important supply chain, and really happy that we're going to be having some incredibly innovative supply chain startups and technologies with us today. InsurTech, mobility, and travel. So all of these different industries, we're seeing solutions in order to mitigate COVID-19. And if we go to the next slide, these are the areas of interest that we've seen, 13 different areas that we have prioritized. And we're also prioritizing with HHS and Donna and BARDA, molecular diagnostics, point of care, vaccines, ventilators, 3D printing, really important for ventilators right now, therapeutics, population outbreak management, symptom checkers, RPMs, remote patient monitoring, mental health, of course, very, very important, not just for people who have COVID-19, but for the broader population as well during this time. So from an incredible amount of places across the globe in 9 different industries, looking at all 13 of these different technological areas, we've been able to source the best startups in order to mitigate COVID-19. And so with that, our Roche event is going to be happening April 1st. Plug and Play is going to be opening up that accelerator specifically for COVID-19. And we also have some incredible other stuff that we are going to be doing in events in the future with some collaborations with some of the best institutions in the world. So stick and tuned for that one. But with that, I do want to give it to our representative from BARDA and the US Department of Health and Human Services, Donna Boston. So Donna, take it from here.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world at this moment. Thank you, Zach. That was a great segue to what I want to talk about. My name is Donna Boston, and I'm with the US Department of Health and Human Services. I'm a project officer with BARDA, which is a component of the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response within Health and Human Services. BARDA's mission is to develop medical countermeasures that could someday be needed in a public health emergency, such as the one that we're facing today. BARDA, alongside our federal partners, form incident management and response teams that right now are on the front lines in the fight against corona disease, or COVID-19 as it's known. And I really want to thank Plug and Play for the opportunity to speak today, and to all of you for joining along to this event so that I can speak with you a little bit more about BARDA's mission and how it relates to COVID-19, particularly at this time. BARDA is seeking products and technologies that address the current COVID-19 global pandemic as part of our overall medical countermeasures development portfolio. To this end, BARDA recently published 2 solicitations called Broad Agency Announcements, or BAAs, that describe the COVID-19 specific areas of interest that we are looking for at this time. And you can find much more detail if you read through those BAAs than what I'm going to give you today, but I wanted to at least introduce these topics to you. The 2 BAAs are called the EZ BAA, EZ Broad Agency Announcement, and then we have a more broad and more continuously open BARDA BAA. Both of these have areas of interest that are open and active for accepting applications related to COVID-19. So I wanted to use this opportunity to speak with you today about our areas of interest with COVID-19. And I apologize, I don't have slides, so this may sound a little bit scripted because I did draft a summary of everything that's in these BAAs. It's a lot of material, but I wanted to just distill it down and give you a summary of what we're looking for without it being too scripted, I hope. But I thought that would be the best way to get the information across to you in relatively short order. So with that, in general terms, we are focusing on the following. First, clinical diagnostics. Diagnostic tests are an essential part of the coronavirus response and part of BARDA's overall essential mission. Diagnostic tests can be used to inform patient care and to help identify new cases of COVID-19 to help limit the spread. Thus, BARDA is seeking proposals for the development of COVID-19 clinical diagnostic assays or systems as follows. Diagnostic assays for SARS-CoV-2 virus that use molecular platforms that are currently widely in place in clinical testing laboratories across the United States. Point of care diagnostic assays for SARS-CoV-2 virus that could be suitable for use in CLIA-waived settings that are nearer to the patient, such as a hospital lab, a clinic, or even a doctor's office. An example would be a lateral flow immunoassay test strip format. The detection of COVID-19 disease using host or virus-derived biomarker response to detect current or past infection. BARDA is looking for pan-coronavirus assays that can distinguish across multiple coronaviruses. These proposals must include a plan for obtaining emergency use authorization or 510(k) clearance from the FDA. And US-based manufacturing is prioritized. So moving on, the next area is vaccines. Vaccine development is a major part of BARDA's mission and portfolio. And BARDA is seeking proposals for the development of vaccine countermeasures against COVID-19. The countermeasure produced may consist of the vaccine itself, viral or genetic vectors, or other technologies that can quickly generate a safe and protective immune response. Proposals must describe the manufacturing technology and process, and manufacturing must occur in the United States. Preclinical and clinical testing plans and regulatory pathways must be outlined in the proposal. Our partners at the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases, or NIAID within NIH, are also working on COVID-19 vaccines, and our BAA can explain how you can also reach out to them if you have an earlier stage candidate. BARDA is also seeking the development of ready-to-use rapid response platform technologies, alternative vaccine administration or deliveries, and adjuvants for application to the production of COVID-19 vaccines on an accelerated timeline. The third area is therapeutics. BARDA is seeking proposals for the development of direct-acting antivirals with proven efficacy against coronavirus, and they are required to show in vitro efficacy against human coronaviruses. In addition, repurposed products that are already FDA approved or in the late stages of development with clinical exposure data would be prioritized as well. Host-directed therapeutics, which indirectly inhibit the coronavirus life cycle, will also be considered. Demonstrated efficacy against human coronaviruses in vitro, again, is required. So BARDA will prioritize candidates in this area that are in the later stages of advanced development. However, earlier stage candidates may be considered. Here again, US manufacturing is required. The fourth area is respiratory protective devices and ventilators. BARDA is seeking proposals for the advanced development of improved respiratory protective devices such as masks, surgical masks, and respirators to reduce transmission of virus and other infectious agents. BARDA also seeks the advanced development of new or improved ventilators to provide respiratory support in clinical care, transport, or emergency use settings for the severe respiratory conditions resulting from infection. And fifth, advanced manufacturing technologies. Another of BARDA's mission areas is to prepare now to overcome future challenges and hurdles in manufacturing and supply chain in order to support rapid manufacturing of therapeutic or vaccine candidates in the future. To that end, BARDA is seeking the development and demonstration of innovations and enhancements to manufacturing platforms to support the development of necessary medical countermeasures, including vaccines and therapeutics, in the prevention, preparation, and response to COVID-19. And that summarizes what we have open and available in our BAAs regarding COVID-19. And I would like to encourage you to look for further information and greater detail in those BAAs themselves, which you can find directly online at their posting sites. You can find them through our BARDA website, www.medicalcountermeasures.gov, or our DRIVE website, drive.hhs.gov. Or you could probably just Google BARDA COVID and find everything you need about those BAAs. Also, I want to remind you that Plug and Play, it has been a wonderful partner to BARDA in helping us get the word out and scout in their community of companies, innovators, entrepreneurs who are working in health security to bring companies to us. You can reach out to them to help you navigate the process of understanding BARDA's needs and then bringing applications to us. So with that, I want to say that it's been my honor to work with Plug and Play over these many months and learn more about their community of innovators in health security. And I want to thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you all about this important mission. I'm turning it back over to Zach now.
Thank you, Donna. I appreciate it. Again, one thing that we really want to emphasize is the government. And one thing that I've been incredibly impressed by Donna and their team, how quickly they've been able to get different government agencies collaborating together, opening up that portal for all of them and finding emergency funding. So I myself have been incredibly impressed by what Donna and BARDA and what HHS and what our government is doing. So thank you, Donna. So with that, it is now time to have these incredible companies provide us information on what they're doing and their specific use cases for COVID-19. And I do want to remind everybody, we did choose this time for not only the people in the US, but also in Europe and internationally, but we couldn't, just because this is such a global event, choose a time for everybody. And so this is a recorded session. We will be providing recordings of it as well. But with that, I do want to give it starting out to the first startup. It's Trevor Martin with Mammoth Bioscience.
Hi, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. All right, I'll share my screen here. Cool, so thanks so much for having me. And today what I'm gonna chat about is the really exciting work that we've been doing on CRISPR-based systems for detecting COVID-19. And at Mammoth, our mission from the very beginning has been improving lives by creating tools for reading and writing the code of life. And of course, today, we're going to be talking mostly about reading the code of life, which is a pretty unique use of the CRISPR technology, as opposed to the normal kind of writing that people think about. And Mammoth Biosciences was co-founded by myself, Jennifer Doudna, one of the co-inventors of the CRISPR technology out of Berkeley, also Janice and Lucas, who are graduate students in our lab for many years, and a really great set of other executives and top-tier investors, including Mayfield, Verily, ABC, DeChang, and many individuals. And our thesis at Mammoth is that CRISPR-Cas9 was just the beginning. And Cas9, if you know anything about CRISPR, is kind of the most famous and one of the first enzymes that was really used for as this high-fidelity programmable gene editing tool. And this is a tool that's already transformed many markets, from healthcare to agriculture to industry. And the way we think about this space kind of more broadly at Mammoth is that new CRISPR systems can expand this potential even further. So Cas9 really came on the scene in a large way, let's say in 2012. And over many years now, we've been able to characterize kind of new families of CRISPR proteins from Cas12, Cas13, Cas14 is one of the more recent systems. And these all enable new applications. And in particular at Mammoth, we really think of CRISPR as biology's search engine. So instead of thinking of it as a pair of scissors, which is not wrong, I think that's just kind of an incomplete way of looking at it. So the way CRISPR proteins work in general is that you have the CRISPR protein, and when you want to program it to detect or to cut or to do anything with some specific nucleic acid sequence, you give it what's called a guide RNA. And that guide RNA will be complementary to either the DNA or the RNA that you want to target. And some CRISPR proteins can target the DNA, some CRISPR proteins can target RNA, single-stranded, double-stranded, et cetera. And when you program it with that guide RNA, that allows you to then have that CRISPR protein go and in a very complex sample matrix, whether that's in vivo, in vitro, search through all of the nucleic acids and actually bind to the particular nucleic acid of interest if it's present. And you can use that, of course, to leverage the built-in scissors of the CRISPR protein to then cut that DNA or RNA. And that's how you can get things like the write functionality. But what we're really excited about Mammoth is the read functionality. So what if you're able to use that CRISPR protein so that when the guide RNA finds its complementary sequence, it actually sends that signal back out to do a molecular diagnostic. And this is an overview of kind of how Mammoth's CRISPR technology works at a high level. So there's kind of three components. There's the CRISPR protein itself. There's a guide RNA, so that's in this case going to be programmed to some sequence that's unique to COVID-19. And then there's a thing called a cleavage reporter. That's one way of kind of reading out the signal. And what you do is you use bioinformatics to design a guide RNA that's specific to COVID-19. So that's a bioinformatic exercise. And then of course you can screen through many guides to find the optimal one. And then you program the CRISPR protein with that guide. And then let's say you have a sample and you want to know whether it's a nasal pharyngeal swab or spit or whatever the sample type is. You want to know, is there COVID-19 in that sample? So what you do is that you can essentially add the CRISPR protein with the guide to that sample. And if and only if the CRISPR protein with that guide successfully binds to some sort of COVID-19 specific sequence, it'll actually activate the molecular scissors in the CRISPR protein, but in a very unique way. So instead of just cutting in kind of what we call a cis, so just cutting the sequence that it's bound to, because editing COVID-19 in a test tube isn't doing us too much good, it will actually also, after it's done that, cleave all the, say, single-stranded DNA or RNA in the system. And that's an amplification. So you go from binding one molecule of COVID-19 to cleaving many orders of magnitude more single-stranded DNA or RNA, and that's where these cleavage reporters get cleaved, and you can get some release of fluorescence or color or other types of signal. So diving into this a little bit more, and you can also pair this with like the many different isothermal technologies out there. And what you end up with when you're doing this is you have potentially extremely crude sample prep because you don't need to kind of create a super purified sample. you can have a very rapid, very multiplexible isothermal, just kind of quick preamplification to up sensitivity even more. And this is typically less than 10 minutes. And then you have the CRISPR system on top of all this, giving you even more sensitivity and giving you extreme single base pair specificity as well. So this is kind of a version of what we call the DETECTR system. And the advantages are that it's extremely simple, it's extremely rapid, it's extremely sensitive and specific, and it's also very inexpensive. So this is a really kind of exciting new method for molecular detection. And I think it really bridges the gap in kind of molecular technologies more generally, and just diagnostic technologies overall. So on the one hand, you have your kind of molecular tests. These typically are going to require at least some sort of lab equipment, some sort of technician in the loop. On the other end of the spectrum, you have your rapids. So these can be in like pregnancy tests like formats, but typically they're going to have a lower sensitivity. It's going to be single indication specificity. And really, I think the promise of CRISPR-based diagnostics that we're building at Mammoth is that you can kind of have the union of those. You can get molecular style results in a kind of rapid style format. And I think with COVID-19 and this pandemic, we've seen that that's a huge gap in this industry generally. So now diving into COVID-19 in particular a bit more, I think it's really clear that there's this very large unmet need for just widely distributed diagnostics, not just for this pandemic, of course, but for future pandemics as well. And I could have put 100 different news articles over here on the left, but clearly there's not enough testing available in the right places really around the world. And I think here the kind of significant challenges that people faced are, of course, the test development time, reagent quality and shortages, lack of testing equipment that's installed or available, just only so many trained technicians that can actually be running these tests, and of course, just logistical difficulties around supplying these. And I think also, definitely there's many different ways you can kind of test for COVID-19. And I think at Mammoth, we're most excited about this molecular method, especially because it allows you to actually catch the disease in the asymptomatic stage and throughout the progression of the disease. And it's not showing up when it's actually flushed out of the person's system. So we think having some kind of decentralized molecular testing is really an optimal solution for diagnosis, for coming up with treatment regimes, and for, of course, quarantine as well. And to dive a little bit more into the work that we've been doing and we've been excited to be very public about. So over here on the left, I've actually linked to a preprint paper that we have on the CRISPR-based diagnostic system for COVID-19. And this image here is a little bit of just kind of an overview of kind of the sample method, but really going from the nasal pharyngeal swab through to this kind of detection technology, in this case through some sort of fluorescence. I think we've seen really promising data here, and we're excited to kind of release more of this in the future as we continue to develop the test. And I'll just dive into this data a little bit more in terms of kind of making it in a more portable format. So one of the things that we're excited about that's also in this preprint paper is that we've shown that you can actually do both fluorescence-based readouts and lateral flow readouts. And the lateral flow readout is especially exciting because that's something that you can really imagine becoming decentralized. And the other thing that's really interesting about it is that we've shown that we can get really great limits of detection with both techniques. And over here on the left, I just have some graphs of the kind of fluorescence-based readout, and over on the right, some actual pictures of the lateral flow readout, so you can get an idea of what the interpretation is like. So this is extremely exciting because it's one of the first examples of getting these kind of molecular quality results by pairing it with isothermal techniques and with lateral flow type readouts. And I think what's really exciting as well is that this has been in work that's been done over an extremely short time scale. So really measuring things in weeks, not even months. And overall, I think there's immense momentum on building this kind of point of need testing. And this has been really since the founding of Mammoth, our mission, just these decentralized molecular diagnostic products. And so we've already dedicated a substantial amount of our own funding towards accelerating this coronavirus analyte in particular. And we're really excited to accelerate that further. And that's why we're raising some additional capital now for this project in particular. So I'm happy to chat with anyone that is interested in working with Mammoth, both as a partner as well in terms of driving this forward, and of course as a funding source for driving this and accelerating this work substantially so that we can get it to the places where it's needed the most. And so I'll just leave my contact information up here, and I'm really happy to answer any questions that people have. Thanks.
Thank you, Trevor. And actually here, I'm going to turn it over to our MC for the rest of the event, Ava Asghari. Ava, if you're ready, please come on. Great.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone tuning in from around the world. I hope that you're all staying safe. Before we jump into the questions for Trevor, I wanted to mention a few things. So my name is Ava. I'll be your MC today for the startup pitches. For those of you asking, we're recording the session and we'll have it up on our YouTube channel very soon. So stay tuned for that. Before we get into the rest of the pitches, I just want to remind you that after each presentation, there will be a live Q&A for 1 minute afterwards. So we will only have time to address 1 or 2 questions. If you have a question for the startup, there's a Q&A button on the bottom of your screen. So feel free to ask your questions down below. So with that, Trevor, we do have a question for you. Someone is asking, how is the UCSF trial going so far?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and definitely I think we'll have more information about that in the future. And what I can say for now is that the data is very promising, and I think this whole kind of process has really allowed CRISPR-based diagnostics to shine, and I think we're excited to continue to share that data with the public.
Awesome. And how can potential partners work with you today?
Yes, there's a couple key avenues. So the first one is, of course, kind of funding sources, strategic and other venture, et cetera, are very interesting, of course. The second one is in terms of scale up and distribution. Definitely, as we're kind of looking towards the future, any avenues for companies that have experience in massive scale up are very interesting. Whether those are current diagnostic companies or even just manufacturing companies. And then I think, of course, if there's interesting kind of ways you think you could leverage CRISPR diagnostics that we haven't thought of, we're always interested in chatting with people about those types of ideas.
Wonderful. Thanks, Trevor.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So up next, we have David Maman calling in from Bina AI.
Just 1 second, I apologize about that. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much, Plug and Play, for this platform, and it's a pleasure speaking here. I'm going to talk with you how Bina actually already helps to actually very large organizations and communities in order to do a full triage for COVID-19. So my name is David. I'm the founder, CEO, and CTO of Bina. I'm a hardcore serial entrepreneur. This is actually the 13th startup that I founded, together with my 2 co-founders, Michael Markzone, which is our chief scientist and have over 15 years of experience, and Konstantin Gedaling, our chief researcher, that besides his PhD in physics, also holds a PhD in applied mathematics. Today, we are a team of 45 people, over 12.5 PhDs in the team, and we've been receiving a lot of recognitions from getting the recent innovation awards at the recent CES event, and also being recognized by Gartner and winning the grand champion by to the recent entity data competition. So today, everyone is becoming focused on COVID-19, and for a great reason. I was just checking the statistics, and it's official, more than 500,000 people have been infected by COVID-19 worldwide. Some countries have been able to manage and stop the contagious phase of this disease, like China. Korea is getting much better, and we can see other countries that are better in control. And in some places, worse haven't arrived yet. So we can see that through the process, for a fact, now we understand that between 70 to 80% of the people will get better. And the moderate disease, we can see that there's going to be just slight and very light signs when things are happening, but it's going to get actually worse. And we're talking about serious and specific prognostic features that are happening. there is a rising heart rate. There is an increased respiration rate for the people. There is a reduced oxygen saturation that we have to be thankful for all the doctors from Italy, from the Lombardo area, that have been releasing huge amounts of information that actually helps better everyone to better understand how can they actually tackle and make things better for humanity. And now we see that even though 42% of the people that got to respiration failure have not been tracked with a high temperature, but oxygen saturation have been reducing dramatically throughout time. So at BINA, we're trying to escort governments, systems, communities throughout the different phases, from triage in order to detect degradation of physical health, and how actually and when it's becoming to a critical phase when people have to be submitted and actually being cared by professionals. So throughout the process of triage, the most important thing when people are actually now being detained and quarantined and self-quarantined, you have to have the option how to provide those kind of people the ability to self-triage, and sometimes during a phone conversation with a doctor to be able to extract more and more information. And BINA, we've spent almost 4 years to developing the technology that I'm going to show you, how using a basic smartphone, just out of the box, everyone that owns a smartphone can actually be self-assess, and during a conversation with a doctor, the doctor can truly take life-saving decisions throughout the process. The technology that we developed allows us to using the cameras out of a smartphone. We can use the front-facing camera to no contact, and we can actually use also the back camera to a full contact. And using this technology, we're able to provide almost anyone in the world the ability to be self-assessed regarding what the different phases of the disease. In some cases, when people do not have the application or do not have even the smartphone, if a video recording was taken out of these people, we're actually able to extract those vital signs in offline after the video was already recorded. And what you see here, that besides the vital signs, we can actually also get the stress level. We're able to do it in real time. So what you can see here, just in order to show you quickly, this is just a regular iPhone, nothing special about that. I'm just opening BINA's application. And at the second that I'm starting it, I can keep on talking. Hi, everyone. I can keep on using it. Within the first 10 seconds, we will be able to extract heart rate and oxygen saturation. Within the first 30 to 35 seconds, we will be able to extract respiration rate just by using the front-facing camera, no touch, no contact, and everything is running in real time. Within the first 50 seconds, we'll also be able to extract stress level. And in this time, the majority of the people are always stressed. So this is not an important indicator at this time as far as we can see. And we're actually are able to extract also a full heart rate variability, which helps a lot of different organizations to extract very important information from people. And once all the information being extracted, that usually takes about 45 seconds, we're able to actually upload the entire information to any physician and to any medical doctors just by using an app without the need to have any medical oximeter, any respiration rate counter, and any type of additional technology. And if we'll think about the process, by using BINA's application, you're able to register so people actually know where you're located with. We're able to extract the vital signs, and throughout the process to help to self-assess and also to determine the measurement that needs and are required to be extracted from the people themselves. As a company today, we're working actually with, we're working with quite a few organizations that embedded our capabilities inside of their software. And we're providing this technology as a white label or as an SDK. So any medical organization, any facility, or even any government that have an application can embed all of our capabilities in a matter of days to be able to extract the different vital signs. Today, we're working with a lot of telemedicine companies. We're working with remote patient monitoring, nursing homes, and even several pharma companies that are able to have a real-time virtual trial monitoring to see how medicine is actually influencing the people that are taking it from anywhere in the world. all of this information eventually can be uploaded to our cloud or to your cloud in order to see the trend of each and every user, in order to see what's happening, whether a person is getting better or not, from an oxygen saturation, heart rate, and also from a respiration rate, to be able to better manage the process and the decline or the getting better of each and every person. Thank you very much, everyone. We are BNAI. Thank you, Ava. I tried to keep it short so you won't be too late.
Thank you, David. So we did get a few questions.
Yes, please.
Are you ready to be deployed outside of the US straight away?
Yes, we're already working in Japan. We're already working now in New Zealand. We're already working in Australia. We're starting now in Australia. We're in the process in Europe in a few different places. And because the technology was just launched about 6 months ago, we only finished 4 clinical trials to validate the accuracy, but we're already in the process for FDA, for Canada Health, and the process for a lot of different places.
Awesome. And what is the accuracy rate of your solution?
So everything is in a medical grade accuracy. For example, the heart rate, for the average heart rate between 60 to 120, we have less than 2 to 3 beats error level. In oxygen saturation, less than 2. Differentiator 2% error level. In respiration rate, we're talking about 2 to 3, which means everything is in a medical grade equipment. So a very important fact is that the majority of the product that you will buy today in Walmart, Costco, Amazon, or any other place, over 95% of them are not FDA or CE approved. And yet doctors take decision using those devices.
Wonderful. And how many lives have you scanned to date?
So we have over a few millions of implementation of our technology, and because this is sometimes a medical information, so we do not get all the information. By ourselves, a few tens of millions, but our partners and our customers that implemented those kind of capabilities inside of their applications have been scanning endlessly.
Wonderful. Great. I think that's all the time we have for questions. So
Great.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful, and thank you very much for the stage and the event.
You as well.
Thank you.
So up next, we have Max Perelman from Biomeme.
Hi everyone, my name is Max Perelman. I'm one of the co-founders of Biomeme. For the last 7 years, Biomeme has been focused on empowering anyone, anywhere with the capabilities of a molecular lab in the palm of your hand. This is where Biomeme operates. We're in low resource settings with minimal space, electricity, or support equipment, and our users are often minimal lab experienced users. DNA analysis is only possible in the lab. Biomeme brings the molecular lab to the sample. What used to take days now takes minutes. And this is the culmination of over $30 million and 7 years of R&D. Over the last 7 years, we've raised nearly $5 million via equity and $27 million via product development contracts, mostly with the Department of Defense and product sales. We have 8 global patent families protecting our various platform technologies. All of these are utility patents. And our 40 full-time staff have built a vertically integrated operation to design and build our hardware devices, write our electronics firmware, mobile apps, and cloud portal code, as well as design, optimize, manufacture, and package our consumables. Biomeme's current commercial platform utilizes real-time qPCR, the gold standard in diagnostics. Over 7 years of working with high-performance customers like the DoD, Biomeme's team has developed the world's leading end-to-end mobile molecular testing solution, delivering sample to answer in under 45 minutes anywhere. These are some recent photos from my trip to the Gobi Desert, where I was testing camels for Mideast Respiratory Syndrome, or MERS. And right in the middle there, that overturned watering trough was essentially my lab. Our very simple but open platform includes the world's fastest and simplest DNA and RNA extraction and purification kits, requiring no lab equipment or electricity and taking about a minute. The tests that we have are for a wide variety of DNA and RNA targets that require no cold chain, including SARS-CoV-2, as well as the world's smallest mobile real-time qPCR. It's about 3 pounds, and we have results in about 40 minutes or less, detecting up to 27 targets from a single sample, all on an internal battery. We also have a number of software packages and solutions, incredible simple smartphone-based user interfaces that control our thermal cyclers, that when they have a cellular Wi-Fi connection, sync up to our cloud-based data management portal, and from there, we have integration capabilities with third-party applications via our API. So specifically around the COVID-19 response, there are a lot of areas where we could help, but I'd like to focus on decentralized applications right now. I see an opportunity to bring real-time PCR, molecular detection to rural hospitals, drive-thrus, pop-up sites, and clinical studies. We are ready right now. There's no reason why your coronavirus test results should be taking 3 to 5 days when you go to the drive-thru. We've submitted for pre-EUA to the FDA and have a number of third-party validation studies underway. Our solution costs about $10,000 for the equipment and $27 per sample. Requires no additional lab equipment, cold chain, or electricity. And the throughput's about 9 samples per device per hour. For $500,000, we could deploy 20 devices and 10,000 tests, averaging about 500 a test per device. Thank you very much. I welcome your questions.
Thanks, Max. So we do have a few questions for you. Who should consider buying a kit? Is it meant for consumers or clinics?
It's meant for clinics and professionals. So right now, the major use cases are going to be labs setting up testing operations outside the lab, closer to the sample. We also have groups, large-scale manufacturers that are wanting to doing testing on site to prevent a potential shutdown of their manufacturing operations, as well as outpatient clinics are looking to do the same to screen their patients prior to doing everything from radiation oncology to other use cases.
Wonderful. And what have been your results so far with your COVID-19 testing strips?
What do you mean by results? I think I gave a little quote there. A third-party Canadian facility calculated their own LOD at 15 genome equivalents per reaction. We've submitted to the FDA as well, and it's looking very similar performance, if not slightly better than the CDC workflow.
Wonderful. And I think that's all the questions that we've gotten today. So thank you, Max.
Sure, my pleasure.
Thanks. So next up, we have Mustafa from Zoom app.
Hi guys, my name is Mustafa. I'm the CEO of Zoom Transportation. We're an automated platform that hooks up shippers, trucking companies, and freight brokers all on one platform. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about our company's history. I went to school at UC Berkeley and studied supply chain economics. My partner, Matt, he was in OEM business working for Raytheon and Boeing. And we're looking to basically disrupt this whole trucking space by getting rid of fragmentation and aggregating affordable capacity. Something really big in the news recently has been about COVID-19 and getting deliveries happening. And basically in this time, a lot of people are closed. Trucking companies are charging really high rates. So Zoom is an efficiency platform, and we look to leverage that gap. Really good stuff about our company that we're backed by really strong people in the trucking industry. One of our backers is Daniel White. He's the strategy of Coca-Cola vice president, and he reports to the CEO. Rob Estes is the leader in the trucking space in having 30,000 employees. He's known as one of the godfathers of less than a truckload trucking. Also, one of our investors is Dan Curtis, and he leads BNSF Logistics, which is a Warren Buffett company. Isaac Larion is an investor in our company, and he's the second largest shipper of toys. And then also we are backed up by Cameron Geiger, who is the SVP retired from Walmart of supply chain, the largest shipper in the world. So what does Zoom do? Number one, we aggregate freight brokers, trucking companies, and shippers all in one marketplace. There's other companies out there looking to disrupt freight brokers like this, and we instead partner with these guys to leverage their capacity for shippers. This would be like Coyote Logistics. They manage $200 million in this business. What these people do with maybe 100 people, Airbnb does with 5 people. So basically what Airbnb did for the travel agency or travel industry, Zoom is looking to do for the trucking industry. Now, our marketplace directly connects shippers with trucking companies on an automated platform. What makes us unique is not only do we give the trucker a marketplace to manage his business, but we also give him a SaaS product that we don't charge money for that lets him manage A to Z on his business, including billing, pricing, accounting, and all that good stuff. So another thing is, traditionally, freight brokers don't disclose their commission to trucking companies. With Zoom, we always tell them we take out 10%, and this is our goal. We always want to come to shippers and try to bring the lowest, most streamlined capacity. And given COVID-19 right now, it's really hard to make your deliveries happen. A lot of people basically aren't even honoring year-round contracts because truckers are charging so much money. So with a model like ours that is based more so on spot and free market, we can leverage that gap for you folks. Now, why did we decide to partner with freight brokers instead of disrupting them? Main reason is because we believe that it's a super fragmented industry, and to naively say that you're going to replace the whole world's 30,000 freight brokers just won't happen. So we saw a crowded market space of Convoy and Uber Freight, and we decided to take their model and use it within our shippers, but also white label it to freight brokers. And in exchange, freight brokers actually give us capacity for our software, and we do monetize from the freight brokers. And so now you just put your target price here, and boom, it goes into our platform. Now, when we give you this, see, our system's really smart, so it'll tell you you forgot to put the date, and that shipment's in there. So something that takes 10 minutes now takes like 20 seconds. We have basically a shipment section over here, which you can manage all your shipments. And then within this system, we've aggregated the marketplace, the tracking software, and the automated accessorials and document management. So you don't have to pay third-party vendors and seeing where the truck is and whatnot. And then all the documents are instantly generated. And then we've built a marketplace within here as one solution, not fragmented. So if this trucking company is looking at load 4994, you can see here that once he bids on the shipment, you would get their bid automatically, and our system gives you a star rating and checks their insurance and all those good things. And then his offer comes in, and then you would counter his offer and say, I want to do it for $750. And then the trucking company would decide on your price. Let's try to bring up the shipment over here on the shipment section. And it's load number 4809. And you could see here that the tracking is fully automated and whatnot, and then the documents and images once he finishes the shipment. Now, I skipped a lot of this because of time, but I can do a full demo for you folks when you're ready. Confirm, and then he would upload his proof of delivery, and you'd submit. And then within basically something that would take a couple days for those documents to get to the shipper and whatnot would now be automatically generated right there. So just to kind of get back into the presentation, some of the customers we're already doing business with, like Tyson Foods, now we're at 2,000 shipments, and we're helping them with a lot of their coronavirus like fast shipments that need to get done right now. And it's really important that these things need to deliver on time. We're at 99.9% on-time delivery with them. You can see from their email that we've had basically 39 weeks in a row of 100% on-time delivery, and that's because our software helps you mitigate that. These are just some of our customers that we're already doing business with. We'd love to get in contact with you folks. As you can see, we have a lot of corporate investors, and we've raised $12 million to date. We're approaching our Series A. Connect with us. We can help you save money on your last minute shipments during COVID-19. We can introduce software into your company to make you more streamlined, or we can just be a great investment. I really appreciate you guys, and I'm here for questions and answers. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mustafa. We do have a few questions for you. First question, is Zoom only working in the US?
As our marketplace goes, we've actually launched in the US, but we have actually 6 investors from Plug and Play, one of which is Logifruit of Spain. And we're building a marketplace internally within their company as a SaaS or PaaS platform in Spain right now. And our software can leverage to basically any country, anywhere.
Awesome. And how is Zoom charging for its services?
So if you're a shipper, we make 10% on the freight, and it's a lot better because normal freight brokers charge 25%, and we also disclose that to the trucking companies. And then if you're a software partner that's just looking to automate your back office and your interactions with trucking companies and shippers, then we have a SaaS model where we could either charge by transaction or monthly user fees.
Wonderful. And last question, how do you deal with insurance and safety, et cetera?
Yes, so all our, right now we have over 100,000 trucking companies and vendors within our platform that are pre-vetted. They have insurance and we're additionally insured by them, but we also carry a secondary umbrella insurance. So if you're a marketplace customer to us, you'd have actually an extra layer of insurance. Zoom.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mustafa, for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Awesome. So up next, we have Miran joining us from Genomatech.
Good morning. My name is Miran Tokarski, and I'm a co-founder and CEO of the Genomatech. With Genomatech, we are enabling proper infection diagnosis through genetic testing right in the doctor's office. Unfortunately, today when we are going to our doctor with a real symptom of infection, he usually prescribes us some general drugs that are not targeting the pathogen that is causing that infection. He can also refer us to some additional tests, but usually they are not accurate and require a lot of time. Of course, more and more traction are gaining methods of genetic testing, but unfortunately all of those technologies that are shown on the slide still require well-equipped laboratory. And this is needed because the sample needs to undergo very specific stages of analysis. We need to extract genetic material, then prepare the reactions and wait for the amplification to happen and then interpret the result. The wait-on time in lab is usually approximately 4 hours, but what is really painful is the time that passes from obtaining the sample in the doctor's office to the result that is available to your doctor, as usually it is from 3 to 10 days. In Genomatech, we are changing this, as all the doctor has to do is to apply a sample on microfluidic reaction card, insert the card into the reader, and press analyze. We are reducing the analytical phase to approximately 15 minutes. And because all of the steps are happening right in the doctor's office, we are reducing the time to result to the same 15 minutes. It wouldn't be possible without our technology, which is currently patented. It is based on optical heating and detection technology, which through contactless heating enable us to heat different areas of microfluidic reaction card to different temperature, and thus we are able to detect up to 5 targets pathogens during a single test. We are also developing our primers and reagent compositions so that we can achieve short time to result and high accuracy. We have also developed technology for freeze drying our reagents so that they can be stable for up to 6 months in the room temperature. We have secured patents. We have also applied for different patent applications currently in the international PCT procedure. We have also secured trademarks both in Europe and in the US. In these hard times, we know that it is necessary to perform diagnostic of the COVID-19 quite fast. This is why we have decided to start development of our SARS-CoV-2 assay that enables simultaneous reverse transcription and cDNA amplification stages, which can vastly reduce time to result and make the throughput of current laboratory tests much higher. As I said, the assay will be compatible with the current laboratory equipment with the future development of Genome-Tech ID once the system will be ready. Our system is really versatile. We can test various types of samples. When they are liquid, they can be put on microfluidic reaction card directly. In terms of swabs, they need to be first put on a special buffer. We can test for various types of bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites simultaneously for up to 5 targets. It can be also utilized as a companion diagnostics for mutation detection. So far, we have proven that our technology works and has a very low limit of detection of just 5 copies per reaction, and we can detect these 5 copies in a record time of 30 minutes. The sensitivity and specificity is on par with the current qPCR technologies. Looking at our competitors, we are the only solution that delivers the true multiplexing ability with short time to result and portability of the system without compromising high accuracy and sensitivity of our testing. And as I said before, we can also utilize our system for mutation detection in companion diagnostics. When looking at our business model, we know how the market works, and usually it is IP licensing or acquisition of the company. However, we are not focused just on this, as we have secured contract manufacturers agreement with our partners in Europe, and we want to enter B2B market in 2022, followed by the B2G market in 2023. The vast majority of our profits will come from selling disposable reaction cards. However, the device is also positioned well on the market in terms of the price. We couldn't build such an extraordinary technology without our team. And just let me tell you a little bit more about our management team. This is Jason Rees, our CTO, who has over 30 years of experience in designing and manufacturing of medical devices. He has been working in such companies like PerkinElmer and Novartis on microfluidic systems. Jason is also responsible in Genome-Tech for regulatory affairs. Charles Winiarski, a PhD from biomedical scientist. He's our COO. Is responsible for day-to-day operations as well as business development. Currently, we are looking for 2 million euros of investment as our contribution to a non-dilutive grant from the European Union that we have received last year, and which is intended to cover the costs of development through our CDMO, the production-grade reaction card, which is directed to our partners in Germany with over 10 years of experience in developing and production microfluidic systems. It will also cover the cost of development of 3 diagnostic panels like respiratory tract infections, sexually transmitted infections, and sepsis, as well as trial production and clinical performance studies in the EU through a multi-center approach. Currently, also Genome-Tech undergoes ISO 13485 certification, which is intended to end in May. This time, we also expect that the certificate will be granted. Later in 2022, we would like to start the clinical performance studies in the US, as well as get CE-IVD regulatory approval in Europe and regulatory approval in the US through a FDA 510K pathway, as well as start medium to large scale production and B2B market entry. Thank you very much for the time and enabling me to share the presentation and Genome-Tech's technology with you. I will be happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Miran. We do have a few questions for you. How many patients have you tested this on?
So far we have, so far we have tested over 10 patients for our new assay for respiratory tract infections. We have also tested over 80 samples for Lyme disease. As I said, that this system, this assay confirmed the performance characteristics that was compared with the current qPCR assays. And the same for the respiratory tract infection, which has just started a week ago. On the ongoing basis, we'll produce more results that will get more data on this.
Wonderful. And what are the trade-offs for avoiding classic PCR cycling?
So generally, in order to build a small form factor device, you need to avoid PCR. And this is why we have decided to build our system based on isothermal nucleic acid amplification technologies, which are much faster and offers the same accuracy and sensitivity. And in many cases, as we have shown, they offer also a very low limit of detection in a record time. So this is something that can be utilized on the first line of healthcare systems where the time is crucial.
Awesome. And what qualifications are required to operate this equipment?
So generally, this for now it is not intended for a customer, ordinary customer. It is intended for medical professionals. In general, you do not need any sophisticated laboratory experience with this, as this is as simple as pipetting the buffer from swab sample, for example, to the reaction card and inserting the card directly into our analyzer. The same, for example, urine samples for sexually transmitted diseases. So this is a vast improvement, and it can be done by either a nurse or GPs, for example, or any other doctor.
Wonderful. And last question, when will the product be ready and how can partners work with you today?
So we expect that the beta system of our Genome-Tech ID will be ready by the end of Q3 of this year. There we will work with our CDMO partners in order to mass manufacture of our system. And we expect that the final clinical trials in a multi-center approach will happen in 2021, 2022. And this is also the time when we expect that the CIVD will be granted. Currently, we are looking for partners in development in terms of new assays, also that might be interested in development of assays for companion diagnostics. Currently, as I said, we are also preparing the COVID-19 that will be assay that will be compatible with current thermal cyclers, vastly reducing the time to result. We expect that this will be that will also go through the regulatory approval in Europe first, as soon as the assay will be ready, even without our Genome-Tech ID system.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think that's all the questions that we have for you today. Just as a quick reminder, thank you. Just as a quick reminder to everyone tuning in, we are recording the session and we'll be posting it on our YouTube channel and sending it out very soon. So with that, we have Ali Zaman from Health Gorilla up next.
Ali Zaman. I am the VP of Marketing at Health Gorilla, and I'm excited to share some of the work that we are doing to support providers as they manage the spread of COVID-19, particularly around increasing access to testing. Before I get into what Health Gorilla does, I wanted to set the stage with where the US is in terms of testing capacity. And so while it's grown over the past few days, we are still not where it needs to be. We're number 10 on this list of countries. And we're still in a phase of not knowing how many cases exist. And so I believe the latest count was around 60,000. It is likely much more than that. And by next week, we are projected to have the most cases in the world. And so the only way we can properly address this crisis is by getting people tested, quarantining those who are positive, and ensuring that patients receive the best and most appropriate care for them. So background on Health Gorilla, we are an API company. So we have about 40 people based in Sunnyvale. Our primary business is giving APIs to digital health companies so they can access and exchange clinical data and embed this functionality into their own products. And the two most relevant APIs I wanted to talk about today were Patient 360 and CPOE. And this is where we're seeing the most active usage right now. So Patient 360 is basically a clinical record retrieval API. It allows a developer to embed clinical data exchange functionality into their own product, enabling a provider to basically query a massive network of EHRs for a particular patient and instantly retrieve all medical records that exist for the patient that they're managing. The CPOE API enables developers to place lab orders and receive test results electronically. And so these digital health organizations, they aren't using a commercial EHR system. They're building applications for providers. They're building software, and they need to embed this clinical data exchange functionality into their own products. And so they don't want to build the individual connections. They just want to license the APIs and accelerate the delivery of value to their users. On the lab side, this is where we can really shine right now. So today there's just over 1,200 community-based providers and digital health organizations that rely on Health Gorilla to place orders and get results. So we've built the integrations directly with the labs, and we make these connections available through an API and allow digital health developers to let their provider users place the orders and get results seamlessly. This is obviously critical in the current state of COVID because we needed to get these organizations ordering the COVID tests, and they cannot do an order unless it's activated in our system. And so a couple weeks back, we became one of the first non-EHR applications to launch COVID-19 test ordering with LabCorp Quest and BioReference. And we made this available via our API as well as our web browser. So all of our customers can order these tests today and get results. We also announced that any independent provider, for whatever reason, if they can't order tests today, they can sign up for free at healthgorilla.com and start placing orders instantly. Now that we're getting results back in our system, we wanted to publish some preliminary findings on about 200 orders. And the analysis showed that as of right now, 4.4% of patients who were tested were positive for the virus. On turnaround time, LabCorp took roughly 4 days, BioReference took about 2 days, and among the other regional labs, it took about 3 days on average to go from test order to result received, which is an important metric as we try to inform physicians as soon as possible about their patient status. And as you can see from the chart, COVID-19 test volume in our system is doubling pretty rapidly. This is showing the 2 weeks of launch starting on March 10th up until about 2 days ago. And so test orders are doubling every 2 to 3 days, and we're very encouraged by that. The other API that I wanted to mention and is extremely relevant to COVID-19 management is Patient 360, which allows providers to instantly retrieve full clinical records from over 60,000 care sites. And this is all possible through our partnerships with Care Quality and Commonwealth, which are these EMR collectives and have built the highways that allow medical records to be collected electronically and in real time. And so when a provider has a valid treatment purpose, they can query this network, be able to retrieve all the clinical records, and administer the most appropriate treatment for a patient. These are some of the companies that are currently using our APIs and are ordering COVID-19 tests through us. One of our customers, Dr. Chrono, is an EMR used by thousands of small and mid-sized physician practices. And a large share of those practices use Health Gorilla for lab transactions. And so it's really about empowering digital health organizations to offer this functionality that prepares their provider users to manage COVID-19 most effectively for their patients. So with that, I would encourage any developers in the room to check out our developer documentation at the link. To get in touch, feel free to email me. My email's on the slide, or you can submit a message on our website. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ali. We do have a few questions for you. Can you work outside of the US?
Today we primarily work in the US. LabCorp, Quest, and BioReference, and all these connections with the various labs and EMRs that we've built are solely based in the US. And so that's where we are going to market with our APIs today.
Great. And are there any APIs to connect with retail pharmacy systems?
Yeah, so we don't currently connect with pharmacies, but since we get the comprehensive clinical record from all the clinical locations that a patient has been to, there is medication and pharmacy data in that record. So as long as the pharmacy data makes it into the medical record, our developer customers and our provider customers can retrieve data on medication usage and dosage, et cetera.
Wonderful. And last question, is it available for end consumers and individuals to go on the website and order the test? And if so, what's the pricing?
Yeah, so the labs testing COVID-19 do not allow patients to get tested themselves or place orders themselves. They are requiring a provider to collect the specimen, which is a swab. It's not blood work, so the labs aren't going to do it themselves. And so they require a provider to take the swab and get the specimen picked up by the lab. So currently today, we don't support patients ordering the test themselves. However, there are in-home test kits that are being launched by a bunch of different companies in this space, where a patient can simply, order it to their house, take the swab themselves, and then send it for analysis and get the results that way. And so the FDA is working on approving that over the next few weeks.
Great. Thank you so much, Ali.
Thank you.
Great. So up next, we have Roy Hirsch from Synovia.
Hi, my name is Roy Hirsch. I'm the CBO of Synovia, and I'm here to pitch how we are going to fight the COVID-19 epidemic and other bacterial or viral-related epidemics. So we at Synovia, we specialize in a novel ultrasound-based antibacterial and antiviral textile coatings. Our mission is to protect the end users and the public from direct and indirect bacterial and viral contamination. And our submission is to transform the highly polluting textile wet processing industry into becoming much more sustainable. The problems relating to bacterial and viral contaminations today in the world could be divided into two. The first epidemic is the hospital-acquired infections or nosocomial infections. This is more of a bacterial problem, bacterial infection problem. 6 million people get infected each year in the US and EU. 200,000 out of those die out of hospital-acquired infections, and the annual financial loss is $50 billion. The second epidemic, and this is the reason why we are here now, as of March 24th, the COVID-19 infected 415,000 people around the world. Around 19,000 people died out of the COVID-19 virus. And depending on which estimation you go by, between $1 trillion and $2.3 trillion are going to be the financial loss to the global markets. Our solution is to impregnate antiviral and antibacterial chemistries using cavitation. Cavitation is being formed when you introduce ultrasonic waves in a unique configuration with a unique chemistry that was developed specifically for this process. And the main merit for using cavitation to impregnate chemistries onto textiles, specifically antiviral and antibacterial, is first, the chemistries that we impregnate, they have deformities in them. The particles, they have deformities. And those deformities, they lead to much increased release of free radicals. And as a result of that, they are much more effective. The second merit is the very, very extreme high durability to washings, even to to industrial washings, very extreme industrial washings. The chart that we see on the top right hand, we can see the phenomenal efficacy of our zinc oxide and copper oxide formulations. We can see even a log 6 reduction of the bacterial contamination, even against antibiotic resistant bacteria. We didn't develop any antiviral chemistries till today, but of course that we can develop multiple chemistries, antiviral chemistries. We have displayed phenomenal durability to washings. You can see on the middle chart, we've maintained log 3 to log 6 antibacterial reduction, even after 100 washes at 75 degrees Celsius. And we've already clinically validated our claims that we can reduce bacterial contamination in a hospital setup. The opportunity is, if I can just take the numbers of the apparel industry, 150 billion garments are manufactured annually. That results in 225 billion kilograms of fabrics that are being produced annually. And we are going to charge $1 per kilogram of fabric. So do the multiples. This is 225 billion US dollars in total available market just from the apparel industry. And this is without medical textiles, without air filtration fabrics, without automotive. As of the competition, we have the incumbent technologies. One is the extrusion. It is relevant only for polymers and it is expensive. The second method is the padding. Padding is not doable to industrial washings, and you have to change the chemistry based on the substrate that you are treating. Our solution, our technology is substrate type agnostic. We can treat any kind of textile, and we can treat wood, ceramics, metal, any kind of substrate, because it's a physical impregnation and not a chemical binding dependent impregnation. We do not require any chemical binders, so we are reducing the amount of chemistry we need by more than 50%. We use only the active compounds, and we have extreme durability to washings. Our solution is very easily implemented in line with current finishing lines across the globe. We just replace the padding model within the line. Our business model is the HP model, digital printing model. We are going to sell the chemistry. This is the consumables, and we're going to sell one time our Sono machine. We are alumnus of Fashion for Good and Plug and Play. This is why we are here. We've just received a 2.4 million euro grant from the European Commission. And our strategic partners are the top leading entities in the world of textile finishing machinery and ultrasonic components for the industrial users. Our team is comprised out of specialists, top executives, and our advisory board even includes a Nobel Prize winner. What I can say is that we are a unicorn by definition. We are currently raising $5 million to support our scale-up efforts, and we invite you to take part in our success. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Roy. We do have a few questions for you. First question is, how are patients identified and how are their records protected when they're being shared?
How are patients identified with our technology?
Yes.
We do not need to identify any patients, and because it's a textile solution, we are enablers of a technology that can coat textiles, any kind of textiles, either automotive textiles, bus, apparel, and via our technology, we've just minimized the substrate contamination. And the substrate we come in touch with the most during our day is textiles. If you think about it, we are just surrounded by textiles. So if you can eliminate the viral contamination from those substrates, we dramatically eliminate the chances of the end user being contracted with a virus A, B, C. It doesn't matter which kind.
And is this solution only for textiles or other materials too? And if so, which other materials?
So because our technology is substrate type agnostic, we're going to start with textiles, and afterwards we're going to continue to other substrates. We want to focus on wood, ceramics, glass, every kind of substrate we can treat.
Great. And last question, how much does a Synovia industrial printer cost?
It will cost around $150,000 US.
Great. I think that's all the questions we have for you today. So thank you, Roy. So up next, we have Matthew Callaghan from One Breath.
Hi, can you guys all hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. I'm going to turn on the video so you can see me, and I'm going to share my screen because we've got slides here. It looks like I'm being blocked from sharing my screen. I have no idea why. In any event, I could certainly send you guys the slides later. They are slightly out of date, to tell you the truth, only because the company was heading in one direction prior to the outbreak of COVID-19, and now obviously we have a bit of a need that we need to fill here. So I'll just talk over the title screen. So One Breath was founded as a technology spun out of Stanford University when I was a fellow in Stanford's biodesign program. This was back in the early 2000s. We had a small federal grant to look at novel technologies from a medical device perspective that could be utilized to eliminate rate-limiting steps or choke points in managing an influenza pandemic. As my background is general surgery and my colleagues were mechanical engineers, we honed in immediately on mechanical ventilation. We generated some rather clever IP, showed proof of concept, and we're planning on licensing the technology out of the university. We were made aware at the time of a large and immediate need for cost-effective ICU equipment in low and middle income countries, specifically starting in South Asia. This was a valid business opportunity. We spun this out into a US C Corp with a private limited subsidiary based in Bangalore. We closed a Series A in 2014, and since then have been developing a novel and cost-effective ICU ventilator specifically meant for use in rural and semi-rural community ICUs across the global south. The device itself is portable, self-contained air compression, able to accept low-flow oxygen concentrator input, but also, driven by some very, very clever software that allows us to deliver breath modes that are compatible with a machine that costs maybe $30,000, $40,000 US. We're able to do this in a device with a sales price of less than $5,000 US. Just some recent history of the company. We were raising funds up until mid-2019 when the company was approached about a merger and acquisition. Obviously now, things are a little different. Our team internally has decided to shift gears and dust off and revisit our pandemic ventilator program. And what we've been able to do, and this is why the slides wouldn't have been very useful, because we just, we've been working day and night for the past week to see what our timeline and budget would look like if we were to shift away from the global device now, this late in development there. And we feel we could have the pandemic device online with a $4,000 sales price in 6 to 9 months, based on the architecture we already have. We'd be working with our existing manufacturer, which is Flextronics, based in Singapore. We've looked at scaling supply chain and manufacturing. We can expand into facilities in Illinois and Texas to manufacture in the United States. We'd be targeting up to 1,000 units a month or 10,000 units in 6 months. So that's the program that we're hoping to build a coalition of support around. As I said, we've already started internally. We do have some resources coming online locally here in Silicon Valley, but we're interested to hear what other partners are out there in the world. We have been speaking with Health and Human Services and the FDA. We understand that, provided our timeline is efficient, we'll be able to qualify for an emergency use authorization approval with the FDA, and that, falls well within our 6 to 9 month timeline. So that's sort of the current update on the company. I think what I'll do is just give you some brief background on myself, as well as sort of the device itself. So the team we've got, we're based here in Silicon Valley, mostly folks that came out of Stanford University, where I'm still on faculty in the Department of Surgery. We've got electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and software development led through here, an office in Sunnyvale. Although we are a highly distributed team at present with another 6 software engineers based in Bangalore, and then, as I said, manufacturing in Singapore. What we'd like to do going forward would be to consolidate those efforts entirely in the Bay Area. Turning next to the device itself, the novelty really lies in the basic pneumatic architecture that we developed way back at the university. That IP was licensed out exclusively to OneBreath. There are 2 additional patents that are assigned directly to the company. So from an IP portfolio perspective, we're in good shape. And then finally, on the sort of who our supporters and partners are, mostly private funded, Venture East, Gates Foundation through Grand Challenges Canada, Wellcome Trust, syndicate of high net worth individuals. At this point, we'd be looking for not just capital. I think capital is available for projects like this, but resources that could help, so that we could really put together, we're probably going to have to double or triple our headcount in software engineering, for example. Folks who understand health and human services would be helpful at a time when the government is already stressed with an immediate response. So that's sort of a backstory and a little bit about us. I'm happy to speak with anybody who's interested later today or tomorrow. I believe our company info address is available, and I will stop there for questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Matthew. We do have one question for you, and we apologize for the technical difficulties. A few people were asking for your deck or for more information. So where can people find more information about OneBreath?
So, we, like I said, we were not planning on, publicizing ourselves or raising more capital. So our website just has sort of a banner statement about, COVID-19. The best way to get in touch with me is you can either use my email address or the one that I think you guys have, which is info@onebreathventilators.com. I'm happy to upload a short deck. It'll be, like I said, slightly out of date from back when we were fundraising last year, but I'm happy to do it if there's a place for me to put it. Just let me know.
Wonderful. If it's okay for us to share an email address or contact details, we're happy to share it with all the attendees.
Okay, great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Thank you, Matthew. Right. Great. So up next, we have Irman from Blinko.
Hi, everyone. My name is Irman, and I'm in Blinko. At Blinko, we build modular safety automation. Our core product name is Blinko Go. Blinko Go is an enabler for this modularity. It helps us to build so many different use cases in occupational safety, and it's literally for any industry. On the left-hand side, you can see our first use case that focuses on detecting personal protective equipment while workers are entering or exiting a production site. And the next use case focuses on detecting potential collisions between human workers and the forklifts. And the third use case focuses on public safety monitoring inside the trains. Here we use 9 cameras and track individuals and crowds throughout the train. And the last but not least is a use case that focuses on industrial ergonomics. Here we detect movements of human body, we detect angles and try to estimate forces to understand how demanding is a certain task for human body. As you can see, Blinko is really all about safety, and we've done a lot in this field already. But our latest and most recent solution is zero-touch body temperature measurement. The reason why we built this solution is we saw many of our clients closing their production facilities and fearing of coronavirus outbreak. And we wanted to help them to minimize the risk and try to ramp up the production as soon as possible. So the first prototype has been developed using Blinko Go in only 3 days. And the first integration was in only 2 weeks. As you can see, we already work on this with our current clients. BASF and Unilever are just some of them. But how does it work? A subject approaches camera and opens up the mouth. We detect an area under the tongue, as you can see in this yellow circle, and take a sample of temperature with a thermal camera at that spot. So the reason why we do it under the tongue is because we did benchmarking, and it came out that an error of measurement is only 0.2 degrees Celsius under the tongue. Eyes are the second best option with 0.9 degrees Celsius. We also spoke with the doctors that confirmed our assumption. This is one of the best spots where you can take a temperature measurement. And what do you need to get started? Firstly, you need a standard RGB camera. RGB camera is literally any camera you can find in your office. Could be a webcam, could be surveillance camera, could be industrial camera. It's not so important what type and what brand. We can work with any. Secondly, you'll need a thermal camera with an API. We verified a couple of thermal cameras. On the right-hand side, you can see those that we really worked with and tried out. There is no specific preference here, and we are not featuring any particular brand. It's just some of the cameras we were able to test. If you have your own cameras, we're happy to look into them and add them on the list. And thirdly, you need off-the-shelf computer. Just any computer that you bought in the last 2 years would be sufficient. Normally would be sufficient. PC, laptop, or server, it's not so important. And how much does it cost? We ask you to subscribe to our Blinko Go platform. A module to detect the body temperature is for free. But the Blinko Go yearly subscription would be 12,000 euros for 5 cameras. And every additional camera would be about 2,000 euros. Our promises are that we help you with remote installation and troubleshooting. There is no additional fees. The support with installation is included. And updates and new releases are included as well. And this is our team that's going to help you to get through this. We're here for you, and we're looking forward to help you. It's 3-second detection, it's zero touch, and it's remote installation. And finally, if you're interested into an investment, we just started fundraising our first round and look for strong partners to work with us on this. Feel free to get in touch with me. I'm really happy to connect and talk. Thanks a lot, and stay safe.
Wonderful. Thanks, Armen. We do have a few questions for you. First question, do you do joint recognition for human movement monitoring?
Right, we do that as well.
Great. And what is the accuracy level? Is this core body temperature?
So the accuracy level is at least as precise as if human would take it manually.
Great. And last question, who is using you guys today? What is the process like integrating Blinko?
Right. Right now, in this moment, as I said in a pitch, we've been working on this for last few weeks, essentially. And right now we work with BASF, we work with Unilever, and we work with several other companies and also practices, like doctor practices and maybe senior houses. They're interested in our solution.
Wonderful. I think that's all the questions we have for you today. So thank you, Armen.
Thank you.
So up next, we have Naranjan Yi from Breath Research.
I'm Naranjan Yi, and today I'd like to share with you about how breath research could help with the COVID-19 pandemic. Breath research specializes in respiratory acoustic monitoring and testing. Currently, there are ways to daily test and monitor diabetes and heart disease, but respiratory disease remains in the dark and typically becomes known when symptoms become acute or require hospitalization. Our mission is to change that and revolutionize the way we monitor respiratory disease. We have developed home respiratory testing and monitoring to predict and prevent attacks and hospitalizations, which are most common with asthma and COPD, as well as the novel coronavirus. We have developed a dual sensor spirometer prototype that does simultaneous pulmonary testing and lung sound analysis. It connects to a mobile app to give people real-time lung health information. And we've developed a platform that has over 35 biomarkers and an artificial intelligence engine that characterizes the severity of respiratory disease for clinical decision support. We have 7 patents, and these are 3 things that we think make our technology unique. We've developed a new method of audio and spectral image feature extraction, which is a pixel analysis of sound. We can combine respiratory acoustics and lung flow volume analytics in a single breath. And we have more than 35 biomarkers and state-of-the-art machine learning to detect lung pathology and severity. To the right is an example from our pilot study at Mayo Clinic, where we used our biomarkers to define the severity of asthma and COPD. And we could do the same for COVID-19. With regular testing, we can track data for early detection. Graph number 1 shows how our system can detect an increase in lung sounds before a respiratory condition becomes acute. All of these sounds can happen in a single breath or cough. Graph number 2 shows how our system can detect a decline in lung flow volumes before a patient may notice shortness of breath. The graph number 3 shows how our system tracks common respiratory symptoms. COVID-19 begins and ends in the lungs. This is an example of 2 patient journey scenarios. People start testing at home with our device and app who have had contact with the disease, early symptoms, a diagnosis, or have chronic conditions that put them at risk. In one scenario, in red, there is a sharp increase in severity. Like COPD exacerbations, there's a window of time before the disease becomes acute and requires hospitalization. In this case, 2 days. After treatment, if all goes well, the person is released from the hospital and recovers at home while continuing home testing and monitoring. In the second scenario, in yellow, there's a slight increase in severity. But 3 days later, there's a moderate increase in severity and you have a telehealth doctor's visit. You get a prescription and the medication is delivered. The person recovers at home while continuing home testing and monitoring. So the benefits of this approach are less spread of disease, earlier treatment, early warning for hospital beds and resources, and being able to monitor home recovery. Making our data available to public health and others, we can map COVID-19 severity and know what areas need the most attention. In a post-COVID world, more people will have lung damage and chronic lung disease from COVID-19. Respiratory monitoring will become more important for chronic disease management and tracking of future respiratory viruses and pandemics. Consumers will be more aware and interested in respiratory monitoring for prevention. And new reimbursement codes for remote patient monitoring will generate new business opportunities. We have a small but very dedicated team. Some of us have worked together for over 10 years to develop this platform. We're currently expanding our clinical team to address COVID-19. Mayo Clinic Ventures supported our pilot study on asthma and COPD severity. We were selected to be part of Startup Health and MIT Solve, and the Wortman Lung Cancer Foundation would like to support our efforts, as those with lung cancer can be severely affected from COVID-19. So here's how you can help. We need investment, strategic partners, and talent. We're talking to product developers at IDEO who are connecting us with medical 3D printing. We've got a software team lined up, and our goal is data collection, clinical research, and FDA 510 clearance. But we need a few things to act quickly. We're looking for an electrical design engineer, someone that could help us with low pricing on the Honeywell sensor that we use, FDA compliance experts, and we need executive talent to help us take our prototype and platform and scale it into a business and product that can be available quickly to all. You can contact me, Narinjan Yi, via email, our website, or our host at Plug and Play. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. We do have a few questions for you. First question is, what have been some of the significant findings from your pilot with Mayo Clinic?
What we found is that lung sounds vary and change across severity in a very sensitive way, and tend to be more varied and more sensitive, say, than some of the lung flow volume changes. But we think that combining the two together will be the most robust thing we can do. And that's why we did it, because we could see indicators in lung flow volumes in some and more lung sounds in others. And we think that in a daily testing environment, we'll see significant markers in both. Great. Oh, and one more thing that we also saw was that, especially on the lung sounds, is that lung sounds were most prominent with a forced exhalation, where we're pushing the lungs the most. Second to that, They were prominent in a deep breath called the slow vital capacity, and tidal breathing was third. And what we learned from that is that if we just monitor someone in tidal breathing, we'll have a lot less time in terms of knowing what the severity is.
Great. And last question, can you comment on the difference between lung sounds from the breath versus the chest?
In our pilot study, we had microphones and sensors on the front of the chest, the back of the chest, the trachea, and through a mouthpiece. And so actually what we found is through the mouth, the sounds were a lot more robust, and they pretty much correlated to the sounds that we were hearing through the body.
Got it. Great. I think that's all the questions we have for you today. Thank you. Great. So up next, we have Mariana Mattis from BioBot.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Mariana Mattis. I am co-founder and CEO of BioBot Analytics. And at BioBot, we're building population health analytics products powered by data that you can find in wastewater. So at the very high level, the objective of our company is to build a human health database, leveraging a type of data that we don't really usually think about, but that we produce every day when we use the toilet, and therefore ends up in our sewers. We are the first company in the world to commercialize human health data from wastewater, and the scientific field for this space is called wastewater-based epidemiology. Now, even though that's a little bit of a complicated name, the idea behind our work is actually very simple. Basically, we can detect information in wastewater because we are using our toilet every day. Therefore, we're producing and sending away urine samples, stool samples, and if we can think about all the times that we use the toilet every day, you can just imagine how much information is available in the sewers. But to be more specific, here are some examples of the things that we can look for. We can look for anything that is present in urine or stool. So we can look for the new coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2 virus. We can look for Zika and other types of infectious outbreaks. We can look for drugs and dietary information. In fact, BioBot's first product was looking at opioids, but we have quickly adapted our platform to onboard as a coronavirus product right away. Now, why look for the coronavirus SARS-CoV-2 virus in sewage? Well, 3 reasons for that. The virus is shed in stool. The virus can be detected in sewage. And more importantly, the data can be used to estimate COVID-19 prevalence in cities. That is, what proportion of the population in a given city is infected with the virus. Currently, there is no other way to estimate this number because testing is limited and not every person who is infected, therefore, is being counted in the official numbers. More importantly, with this information, we can answer very important questions. right away, which is my city or state getting better or worse? And how fast is that happening? This information will be useful not only now when we are approaching the peak of the outbreak, but also as it winds down and we want to return to our normal activities. We launched a campaign online in social media last week, soliciting wastewater samples from treatment facilities across the US. The campaign got picked up by a couple media outlets, and we have received a tremendous response. Over 150 inbound requests to join the campaign in only a few days, and our team has already started sending out kits to these customers as of Monday. About our team, we are a unique team with unique expertise. We are in fact only one out of only 20 experts team in the world that have specialized in this space of wastewater-based epidemiology. And as I said in the beginning, we're also the first ones to bring the technology to market. My co-founder, Nusha Gailey, and I bring complementary skills. She is an architect, expert in the smart cities and urban innovation space, and I am a computational biologist with a PhD in the scientific field. We have collaborators at MIT and Harvard, both scientific and medical, and we're part of the YC batch back in 2018, have raised since then. Now we're almost done with our second round, so 2 rounds since joining YC, and are expanding. And our vision is to be able to transform wastewater infrastructure to have a new job as a global public health observatory. So these are our company values. And with that, I will let you with this summary slide and we'll take questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mariana. We do have a few questions for you. So what have been the findings so far through sewage analytics?
We're very early. Last week, we started collecting samples here in the Boston area. And basically, we show that our protocols work and we are detecting the virus and we're also quantifying it. But we're not ready yet to share any rough estimate of prevalence, since we want to first communicate those numbers to the public health officials and policymakers rather than directly to the public.
Great. And next question is, what is the collection point that's most used?
It's wastewater treatment plants right now, because treatment facilities have the equipment and the staff to collect wastewater samples. However, in principle, you should be able to collect this information from more granular regions. You just need to have the equipment to do it and the people to do it. So in our case, we actually have a portable wastewater sampling device that BioBot has built, and that is much more low cost than the available commercial sampler right now in the market. However, we just don't have the bandwidth to scale yet to accommodate that type of sampling. So at the moment, in this first phase of the campaign, we're going to limit ourselves to treatment facilities, but looking ahead as to how to make it available in other areas.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mariana. I think that's all the questions we have today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And up next, we have Stefan from Giant.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stefan Behrens, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Giant. The coronavirus pandemic will change dramatically how we all receive healthcare. The current system is reaching its limits as millions of people who are worried about or are directly affected by COVID-19 enter the system, and all at the same time. Phone lines of doctors' offices, call centers, and nurse lines are busy. Emergency departments all over the country are turning into war zones, dealing with thousands of patients, many of which should probably not even be there. Providers and caregivers on the front lines are working superhuman hours in an attempt to stem the tide. So amidst all of this chaos, the question is, how do we keep patients and providers safe? I believe the solution has to be to move the patient experience into the digital world. This is the only way to apply technology to increase efficiency, capacity of the healthcare system in order to rise to the challenge. Many other industries have already led the way, and healthcare is clearly lagging behind. But we have to do it right. We need to digitize the patient experience in a way that is personal, helpful but not overwhelming, empathetic, and that brings in the right human touch where technology reaches its limits, where patients just need the comfort of a friendly voice. And this brings me to my company, Giant. Our mission is to connect patients with the healthcare providers using artificial intelligence to enable meaningful conversations along the patient journey. 4 weeks ago, we used the existing capabilities in our tech platform to build a coronavirus virtual assistant that can be configured and deployed in record time to guide patients through the crisis. Our coronavirus assistant has two main modules. The first one is a screener that checks patients for symptoms and risk factors of COVID-19 following CDC and WHO guidelines. Based on the patient's answers, we then route them to the appropriate care endpoint, which can range from a quarantine at home, talk to a provider via telemedicine or call a crisis hotline, or to call 911 right away. The second one, which is a patient education module, can answer questions around COVID-19 related topics using natural language processing. We cover anything from questions around treatment, home quarantine, testing availability, or to whether your dog can get infected. All of this happens via simple chat on a desktop or mobile web browser or inside of a partner's mobile app. Some of our partners, for example Intermountain in Utah or OSF Healthcare in Illinois, have made our virtual assistants their first line of defense to provide patient education and triage before routing patients with symptoms or risk factors to a telemedicine encounter or the ED. In less than a week, we have already screened, navigated, and educated more than 100,000 patients. We designed the product so we can quickly deploy to any website or mobile app in less than 48 hours. The sensitivity of the care navigation and the care endpoints are configurable for each partner because caseloads and availability of resources can be different from community to community. We also continuously update the content and screening questions to keep up with the latest research and guidance from the CDC so that our partners don't have to worry about it. And we plan to deploy updates in the coming weeks to support navigation to testing sites as test kits become more generally available, as well as offering in-home follow-ups via text message to help monitor symptom progression for patients in home quarantine that have tested positive. Last week, we also partnered with Blue Shield of California to bring our technology to all hospitals in California free of charge. And to be frank, the take-up has been nothing short of stunning. We're seeing healthcare organizations move at lightning speed to adopt our solution. In the last not even 2 weeks, we have already partnered with 13 healthcare organizations across the country to bring our coronavirus assistant to their patients. And I would expect to add an even larger number in the next 2 weeks based on ongoing conversations in our pipeline. Before I end my pitch, maybe one more thing. You may be wondering, what was Giant doing before March and the coronavirus assistant? Our core product is actually a much more comprehensive solution to the care navigation challenge that goes way beyond COVID-19. Our platform helps patients and health systems increase efficiency and improve the experience at the same time. We call it the Giant Front Door. It combines a virtual assistant that understands natural language, think of Siri for healthcare, with an AI triage and navigation capability to guide patients into the most appropriate venues for care or to the resources they need to access in the system. In the background, we integrate into the EHR to automatically document encounters, tap into the provider directory to help find the right specialist and book an appointment online, transition seamlessly into a telemedicine visit, or initiate a live chat with a nurse or caregiver, all in the same interface. While COVID-19 is certainly the most pressing issues for many of our partners at the moment, we expect to see accelerating adoption and rollout of a broader front door solution in the coming months. After all, patients will still need prescription refills, come down with the flu, or sprain their ankles, even if they're sheltering in place. Which brings me to my ask. If you work for a healthcare organization and you think you could benefit from our technology, please reach out to the email address provided here so we can explore how we can help you as soon as possible in your efforts to stem the tide and contain the crisis. If you're an investor, you're in luck because we're currently raising our Series A in order to scale up our team to cope with the explosive growth and demand we have experienced in the last few weeks. Please get in touch. We're looking forward to talking to you. And now I'm happy to hear your questions. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we've gotten quite a few questions around this topic. Is the app in English only, and what other languages do you support?
Yeah, at the moment we support English, Spanish, and Chinese, and we're in the process of adding more languages to support screenings in different languages. Very open to talking to you about what languages should be added next.
Great. And how long does it take to get this up and running?
We've seen deployments as fast as 24 hours. Typically, it takes about 2 days. We have an intake process that captures the right information about endpoint configuration in your community and your organization from you. So that takes about a half day. And then we turn around and send you a piece of code that you can integrate into your website and test within 24 hours.
Great. And what message do you have for payers, providers, and pharma companies when it comes to utilizing Giant?
Well, we believe this is the beginning of getting patients acquainted with these types of technologies to seek care. We've worked with some of our partners that have seen a 30 to 40% drop in their incoming phone calls to crisis hotlines and triage. So it's a way to decompress your already strained resources in a quick amount of time and to do something about it now while you can still kind of triage and guide patients into the appropriate care channels.
Great. I think that's all the questions we have for you today. So thank you so much.
Thank you all. Stay healthy.
You as well. Great. So up next, we have Matthew Geiger from Ovid BP.
Hello, my name is Matt Geiger, and I'm one of the co-founders of Ovid BP Systems. At Ovid BP, we set out to revolutionize the way people measure and monitor their blood pressure. Hypertension is a massive global health problem. In fact, it kills more people each year than all infectious diseases combined. But how is hypertension related to COVID-19? While it's too early to draw any definitive conclusions, initial indications have shown that hypertension poses additional risks for those infected with COVID-19, and it stands to reason that the same will stand true for future pandemics. But there's one firm conclusion we can make, that we need to deliver better care more efficiently to more people. And the best way to do this is through telehealth. Telehealth, once embraced by a relative minority of patients, will soon become an integral part of our healthcare delivery system. One thing that's already well understood by its providers, we need to continue to innovate to make telehealth much more than a simple video chat with your physician. At Ovid BP, we're working to do just that. Simply take a 12-second video of your face, and Ovid BP's technology will return your blood pressure in a matter of moments. It requires no cuff, no special hardware, no Bluetooth connection, just a short video and a few moments of your time. Here's a short demo of our current Android beta application. In the future, we will seek to make this available through API licensing and development options for various telehealth providers, as well as direct-to-consumer download. Simply hold the phone in front of your face just as if you were posting for social media. Ovid then translates its data up to the cloud for calculation and analysis. In a few moments, you have your blood pressure. Ovid BP creates tremendous value for both patients and providers. With just a quick video of your face, it couldn't be more convenient, and it's the blood pressure monitor that's always with you. We've proven to be accurate, just as accurate as today's advanced clinical grade cuffs. With no special hardware required, we can compete on any cost level. So how does all this work? Our patented process captures and analyzes a various array of biomarkers that can then be used to triangulate the QRS position of the EKG waveform and thereby calculate pulse transit time. With pulse transit time and our array of biomarkers, we can arrive at blood pressure, heart rate, and respiration rate. But how accurate is it? Well, in our latest public study, we tested 63 subjects across various ages and ethnicities. We were able to achieve a 92% correlation with a top-of-the-line automated clinical grade cuff. Also part of that study, we asked 3 of our subjects to exercise over a short period of time. What we were happy to discover is that we were able to even increase accuracy all the way to 99% correlation when it comes to relative changes in pressure over time. Our current development pathway. I already showed you our Android private beta, and with additional funding, we're planning on expanding across all major platforms. Additionally, we will add physician portals on the back end that will track trends in your blood pressure data, providing very valuable analytics to the patient and physician. Additionally, because we are a black box technology, we intend, through additional data, to seek FDA clearance. We feel this is important for our adoption among both physicians and patients. Our initial target markets and revenue channels look like this. The obvious, replacing the automated blood pressure home monitoring devices, or even the clinical devices that are used in hospitals now. The big one we already talked about, telemedicine and remote patient monitoring. And hand in hand with that, health screening platforms through either government initiatives or corporate wellness platforms. Our team has worked together for over 10 years with significant experience in product development, venture finance and startup operations, entrepreneurship, and IT and software development. What are we looking for? We're looking for up to $3 million in seed capital in the form of a convertible note. We've already closed $150,000, and we're also seeking co-development partners and strategic partners who can help us gather reliable data through R&D studies and corporate pilots. Thank you so much for your time today, and everyone stay safe and healthy.
Wonderful. Thank you, Matthew. We do have a few questions for you. First question, is the 92% correlation consistent across all ethnicities, or is that the weighted average?
Ethnicities, we did not single out individual ethnicities to determine correlation in one ethnic silo, if you will.
Great. And is there any calibration needed?
No, that was one of the things we discovered with the exercise portion of the study, that we were able to measure relative changes in pressure without calibrating to an individual. That being said, in a clinical setting, such as an ICU, calibrating beforehand would validate the accuracy on an ongoing basis.
Great. And someone is asking, do you have CE approval?
No, it's something we're going to, not CE, no. We're seeking FDA via a study we're constructing currently in preparation for also NIH grant that will give us a wide range of data that's third-party validated that we can then move to a 510K proposal.
Great. And last question, how can partners work with you today?
Co-development is a big one for us, resources to improve the app in a quick fashion, and also working on the algorithm side of things. And medical advisors would be another one that we're looking for currently.
Great. I think that's all of the questions that we have for you today, so thank you. Great. So up next, we have Mahesh from Steth.io.
Good morning. I'm Mahesh Malamudi, President and CEO of Steth.io. We are developing COVID-19 early ARDS detection and symptom monitoring system. Steth.io has developed patented technology that is transforming auditory medical data collection. Our company is post-revenue with active users and growing database of heart and lung sound signals. Management team we were executing a strategy to improve clinical management of chronic conditions, including asthma, CHF, and COPD. Our core technology combines patient data and data science to create detective and predictive algorithms that can improve clinical outcomes. Initiatives for 2020 included clinical trials with a major medical device manufacturer. Our technology roadmap included additional functionality for our core technology, incorporating additional sensors and long-term development of new applications. And this was our long-term product strategy. Remote physiologic monitoring to provide clinical support and reimbursement. It's about $123 per patient per month. That was our technology roadmap for 2020 and 2021. Provide data from the RPM monitoring to manage population of patients in a health system. And that was our plan for 21 and 22. Integrate EKG capabilities to our device and to our technology in 2022. Blood pressure monitoring using a pulse transit time in 2022. Steth.io device will be in homes of patients who need frequent clinical visits. Thus, Steth.io is a natural telemedicine portal for patients who need frequent clinical care. And that was our strategy for 22 and 23. Unfortunately, here we are today talking about COVID-19, the pandemic that's spreading the world. COVID-19 is spreading rampantly throughout the world, and affected population is expected to grow exponentially. Large patient volumes threaten to overload walk-in clinics, emergency rooms, and hospitals. COVID-19 patients who develop acute respiratory distress syndrome are at highest risk of mortality. Detecting ARDS at home may allow for early detection, reducing the burden of the ER and the hospitals. Steth.io is a 510K FDA-cleared hardware and software solution for measuring biological sounds. We have about 350 active clinical users. Because of the current COVID-19 pandemic, we developed an independent device for cross-platform compatibility. Here you can see a picture of our hardware and a few screenshots of our mobile application. The hardware will pick up the biological sounds from the chest wall of the lungs and the heart, and the mobile application will allow to capture patient symptoms, which can be modified for whichever purpose we are trying to use, and let them and guide them to examine their lungs and to examine their heart. And we're ready to produce the first batch of devices next week. ARDS, adult respiratory distress syndrome, results from fluid buildup in alveoli, drastically reducing oxygenation function of the lung, and it is patchy in distribution. Fluid buildup results in increased acoustic conduction of lungs, which is heard as a shift of frequencies from a lower to a higher range. Steth.io can listen for changes in lung sounds to detect lung consolidation. listen for wheezing and crackles in the frequency range of 300 hertz. Patient says 99 while using StatIO, and provider or the algorithm listens for shifts in the fundamental frequency from 300 hertz to 600 hertz. This is the standard protocol that was used for bronchophony using a traditional stethoscope. We are trying to automate that. We are trying to use machine learning techniques to identify that. We also want to utilize the patchy distribution of the ARDS, that's the nature of the disease, to detect spatial variation in lung characteristics, which is also a hallmark of ARDS development. Our monitoring strategy is to distribute StatIO devices to at-risk patients and monitor them at their homes. Distribute StatIO devices for daily monitoring in the hospitals, so the patients can be examined from inside the exam room where they're isolated, so that groups of people can listen to them outside. Patients monitor themselves daily or when symptoms worsen. Examination routine is evaluated remotely by the provider or by an algorithm. Patients are kept informed about their condition. Patients who show signs of early ARDS are brought in for supportive care and antiviral therapies. This is our short-term action plan. Short clinical study in hospital, that is non-remote, to qualify efficacy of StatIO in early detection of ARDS, evaluate both passive and active listening strategies, develop ARDS-specific algorithms. We have the capacity to produce in thousands by using 3D manufacturing techniques in preparation for distribution. We want to bring clinics, hospitals, and local governments to support the infrastructure for remote monitoring and treatment of these patients. This is our basic financial summary at this point. StatIO unit cost of goods is about $70 per unit at low volumes. At high volumes above 5,000, the cost of goods comes down to about $30. CMS reimbursement to the healthcare provider as a telemedicine visit is on average it's $73 per visit. And any COVID-19 monitored patient will be monitored for 14 days, one visit per day, and this brings in a revenue of about $1,022 to the healthcare provider, and StatIO revenue will be $200 per month. That's what we would like to charge. And here is our team. And I want to highlight we have team members who are clinically trained, team members who are well-versed in machine learning, computer vision, and medical signal algorithms. And our team has a UI and UX expertise, and we have QMS and regulatory expertise on our team. And we have a machine learning engineer and iOS developers. And we also have a group of engineers who are working with Ionics, who supply us with different engineering services. And they have a wide variety of background, and they can help us scale any of the engineering services quickly. Thank you very much, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mahesh. We do have a few questions for you. What has been the most exciting findings with your product so far?
The most exciting ones are, one is we are able to objectively identify wheezing, crackles, some of the consolidation signs in the lungs by using the product, and it shows as a respiratogram on the screen of the mobile phone, and that's a huge benefit. That's the biggest excitement that we have seen. And the second one is if somebody says I'm short of breath and we don't know what this is, it could be multiple things, and our device has helped to objectify some of the findings.
Great. And last question, how can partners work with you today?
Two requests. One is if any one of you are interested in using the technology in your hospitals, since it's FDA approved, or in your clinics, or if you want to use it as a enhancing tool with your telemedicine platforms that you're already using, We are ready both to supply the devices and the technical support that we can provide. If you are interested in doing a clinical study, we're also happy with that. And the third one is if there are corporate sponsors that would like to participate with us as a partnership, we are we'll welcome them. We like to have that too.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think that's all the questions we have for you today. So thank you, Mahesh, for joining us. Great. So that was our last startup for today. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, Neda Amidi, to wrap us up and to give us any final announcements. So Neda, I'll let you take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Ava, and thank you everyone that's still with us. I think at the peak we had nearly 1,300 people, and now we have about 500 with us. So thank you for staying on. My name is Neda Amidi, and I oversee our health and other verticals, enterprise, insurance, and fintech at Plug and Play. So really excited about the opportunity and the events that are coming up. Before kicking that off, I just wanted to thank a lot of people that were in the background that you didn't see. You did see Ava, Alex Tran, Astrid, and Adam, who's been running the AV. So thank you so much, and thank you for helping run everything so smoothly today, as well as Zach and several others that you've seen and they've participated throughout. Really, we've adopted our business to go virtual in the past 10 days. And we have a series of events that are coming up addressing COVID-19 across different industries. So the session next week with Roche will be featuring our champion Jochen at Roche, talking about the developments that Roche has had in the diagnostic industry. They'll also be featuring 4 of their startups that they're in active pilots with. So that will be Wednesday, April 1st. April 2nd, we'll be doing a session around solutions that can help us all work better remotely. This is a session hosted by our Enterprise 2.0 program. And then April 7th and April 14th will be sessions focused on supply chain. So I invite all of you to visit the website pnptc/events for more information and to sign up. And also later today, we'll be putting out a press release around the COVID-19 accelerator, how to apply, and really what our mission is there to really find solutions that can really help flatten and hopefully diminish the curve in our area and as well as in the rest of the world. And we did have a great press release that already went out from SV Business Journal around this event that we did today. Thank you, Cromwell, if you're on the line, for writing that. And thank you all again for joining us. We're excited for what's ahead, and please do stay tuned on our upcoming events. Thank you.